AI versus intuition, the human edge. So there's two ways that using AI can go wrong. Reason number one is if you let it do the work, do your work as you. So if AI can fully do your job, then to just put it bluntly, you aren't needed. I am paying you, which means that you have a purpose for being here. So if you're seeing that AI can do your job for you, it means that you need to be going deeper than what AI is doing. Okay, so we're going to go into that one a lot more because I think there's some nuances on that side. But this is something that I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I want to make sure that that part is fully understood. Number two, I think that most of people on this team are clear on. But number two, where things go wrong is if you let it make decisions for you. AI will confidently lead you in the wrong direction. You need to be present enough to catch it. Both failures have the same root, that you stop paying attention. Okay. So AI is a tool. You are the driver. Okay, so AI is the fuel that's going to power you, but you need to be holding the steering wheel. So that's how I want you guys to think of it. Okay, so it's the car, but you're the driver. It's a compression tool, so it shortcuts research, drafting, processing, but it doesn't have any skin in the game. It doesn't have instincts or consciousness. Okay, so we're going to go into that one a little bit more, but it also will be confidently wrong. So I think most people on this team are clear on that, but it's something that's a really, really important thing to understand. AI will confidently give you the wrong answer and gaslight you into believing it. And if you're not paying attention, that's extremely problematic. Right? AI is used for these things that are great uses of AI. It's used to create things, drafts, builds, assets, content. It's used to consolidate information, to synthesize and summarize. So take large amounts of information and make it digestible. However, on that note, I do want to just kind of make sure to mention that it can't replace the full experience of absorbing something fully. So for example, I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday about a book. And I was like, "Did you read it?" And he was like, "Oh, well, AI, not somebody on our team. It was just a not business book." He was like, "Oh, I had AI synthesize it." And I was like, "Then you didn't read it." So there's certain materials where that's going to be great, where you don't need to read every single word. You just need the blueprint of it. You just need the bullet points. But there's other books that are more immersive and that are much richer content that AI can't properly summarize. So our team members who have philosophy background can attest to that. That's where it's going to really be important, where AI can't synthesize philosophy properly in a way that you get the full immersive experience of understanding what philosophy truly is. So the book in mention from the person I was speaking with yesterday is a book by Dr. David Hawkins, where that's my favorite author, and his text is so rich that AI can't properly synthesize it. You're not going to really get the full experience. So in work, yes, there's tons of things that you just need the bullet points for certain things, but not always. And even in certain work things, synthesizing that information is not going to be the whole picture, and you're going to be missing certain things. AI doesn't know what you're missing. AI doesn't know what your level of experience and awareness is to make sure that it pulls out specifically the elements that you need to know. It takes a assumption of what it thinks that everybody should know as an average, but that may not be the full picture. So that's something really important to always keep in mind. It's also great to generate ideas. Use it as a soundboarding thing to expand and explore further possibilities and ways of looking at certain things. Also to execute actions. So from an execution standpoint, automations and workflow, we have AI doing all sorts of things, like what we're doing with our stand-up, or so many other tasks that we have AI, crawling and doing it from an execution standpoint. And then also challenging your thinking. So this is also, related but still different from number three, is using it to stress test something. Use it to challenge you, to poke holes, to play devil's advocate in certain things. Okay, so while AI is great at making assumptions on certain things, it's also going to make certain assumptions that might be helpful for you to know. So anytime you think you're going in the right direction, you think you're steering the wheel in a certain way, make sure that see if AI can poke any holes. Just because AI can't poke any holes doesn't mean that there aren't holes to poke, but it's going to be one more level of check that you can do to make sure that you're thinking about things thoroughly. But number five still requires you to think first. Actually, all of these ideas do. Okay. You cannot outsource the starting point. There's certain elements that are structurally human. Okay, so relational attunement. So for those who don't know what that means, it's basically the empathy and then what you do with that. So noticing the small shifts in what wasn't noticing the small shifts in what wasn't said and knowing how to respond. Okay, so actually, sorry, let me start that over. So relational attunement, noticing the smallest shifts in what wasn't said and knowing how to respond. So basically, the experience of empathy and then knowing what to do about it. Contextual ethics, your intuition knows what's right, AI only knows what it's told. Subconscious pattern recognition. So this is something that both humans and AI both have pattern recognition. There's certain elements of pattern recognition that if you're paying enough attention, humans still have a certain edge in certain areas. So also, the more you use that skill, the more you sharpen your pattern recognition skills, the more of an edge that you have. You can use AI to shortcut that for you, and then for you to continue to level up. Okay. And then soul to soul connection. People can feel the difference even if they can't articulate it. We all know when something is artificial in any element of life. So that's something that there's a certain something that's missing whenever that's not the case. Now, 1, 2, and 3, I think that AI will continue to get better at. And even number 4, I think that AI will continue to try to get closer to that. It'll always still miss the number 4. 1, 2, and 3, it's going to continue to improve on with better models. But especially for right now, humans still have an edge on all of that, and those are all areas that I need you to be paying attention in and driving the wheel. But I want to dig into a little bit more of what is intuition. I like to think of it as two different sides of intuition. So one is more on the third dimensional side of compressed subconscious knowing. Things that your brain is not going to articulate it in fully formed thoughts and words. It's things that you know what something is without being able to articulate it unless you think about it thoroughly. And even then, sometimes you can't really articulate it fully. But it's basically a compilation of your whole nervous system processing data faster than your conscious mind can speak. Every experience, every pattern, every hard lesson is all compiled together in one experience for you to see a certain thing, make a certain decision, have a certain thought, have a certain feeling or opinion about something. All that happens in a split moment. That's your compressed subconscious knowing. So that's level 1. Level 2, I like to call an antenna. Okay, so everyone has a different perspective on things like God or consciousness or whatever label that you put on it, but it's an antenna to something larger than self. So I like to, one way to describe it is an infinite network of knowingness. So that antenna will tell you things that you don't yet know. It'll point you to things that you need to see before logic catches up. Okay. There's certain times, so I don't know how many people on this team have experienced this. I know I've had a handful of times myself where I've had, whatever divineness you want to attach to it, bop me on the back of the head and be like, you need to go left. And I'm like, that makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. And it's like, it's too bad, you need to go left. I'm like, okay, apparently I'm going left. So, that's those kinds of things that the reason is not yet known, but there's something deeper than self that tells you you need to do, say, be a certain way. So that's something that I have a friend of mine, and she has a saying that I like, where it's like, the why is none of your business. The why will show itself whenever it decides to show itself, if it does. And until then, it's none of your business. If you know that you're supposed to do something, you do that. Okay. Understanding that also helps us to have less attachments to certain things, because we need to honor if somebody else is feeling that they need to do something. We may not know all the reasons behind that. They may not know all the reasons behind it, and we need to honor that anyway. AI is never going to be in bucket number 2. That's something that's an element of why I think that AI is so amazing, because it allows us to offload all the other things that we don't need to be doing, allow us to have a better effective use of our time on things so that we can be more attuned to this. This is who we actually are on a soul level, is being tapped into that divine connection. And if we're paying attention to how we're using all of this and using AI properly, it allows us to be even more human than we already are. But if we're not paying attention, then it'll do the exact opposite, which is very scary. And that's something that I want to really make sure that nobody on our team is going in that direction. Okay. So also, our values require a human to mean anything. It's human beings that apply meaning. AI is not attached to anything. AI doesn't have a meaning. It doesn't have a purpose. It just is. But it's humans that apply meaning. So, and then specifically also our core values as well. So I want to just kind of run through our core values and how these topics and sentiments apply. So intentional excellence. So, just to recap, we pursue the highest standards with precision and purpose, honoring the human element through empathy, compassion, and commitment to uplift others. AI can elevate your output. It cannot make the choice to uplift someone, nor can it elevate you. Okay? You choose to have excellence. That is an intention that you consciously choose to decide to show up as. AI doesn't care. AI also doesn't know where that bar is. You make that choice. Does excellence look like this, or does it look like this? You have to make that choice. AI cannot make that for you, nor can it get you to that point. Conscious empowerment. Okay, so you cannot empower I'm just going to say a snippet of it. This obviously isn't our full core value, but we serve as a catalyst for people to ignite the light within themselves. So that's that soul to soul connection that I referred to earlier, where this is truly the human edge. You cannot empower someone that you aren't truly seeing. This value requires you to be awake, present, and paying attention. AI can support how you communicate. It cannot do the seeing, and it cannot have that connection with other people. We've all experienced this, and we've all, I would assume that we've all experienced the lack of that as well. When we don't have anybody who's truly seeing and believing in us and empowering us, it's a very lonely feeling. We as humans are meant to have that connection around us. And that's what our core value really stands for us to each be that light that other people can see and that we can all rise up together. AI is never going to do that. It might pretend really well, but there's always going to be this artificial gap because it can't quite serve that because it's not sentient. It doesn't care. Human beings care. AI doesn't. And then radical transparency. So the transparency requires self-awareness. You have to know what's happening before you can communicate it honestly. If you're running on autopilot, you're going to miss things. You cannot be radically transparent about what you didn't notice. Where this is most important is radical transparency with self. AI doesn't know what's going on with you. It also probably, no matter how good it gets, won't fully know when you're tuning out, but you do. That's a level of awareness of self that if you're not fully paying attention, you're not going to be aware of, and you're going to miss certain information that you should have communicated to the people around you. AI is never going to do that for you. And if you try to have it do it, then you're going to start to shut down. So I kind of envision things as kind of like a fluidity scale of light and dark, where when our soul is fully turned on and we're fully tuned into the divine, then we're pure light. When we're not paying attention, we're on autopilot, we're not fully present, we start to shrink, and that light starts to dissipate, and it starts to be more of a ratio of darkness. So that's kind of something that I always kind of see it like that, where it's like always like a moving fluidity of light to dark ratio in every single moment. So that's something to really be present to, is to make sure that we're always trying to be as much that full space of white light as possible and not shutting down. It's hard to do 24/7. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of tune out. That's what Netflix is for, watching a movie, doing nothing. That's all fine. We all need to just kind of disconnect. And we have all different ways of disconnecting. There's ways to disconnect while you're still being present to other things. But there's nothing wrong with disconnecting as long as you're doing it in the correct spaces that are appropriate and not detracting from where you have real connections, that you're not disconnecting from the people around you, and you're not disconnecting from your work here either. All right, relentless ownership. We take full responsibility for every outcome, acting as though success depends entirely on us. Obviously, that's not our full value, but that's just a snippet of it as it pertains here. Ownership is not a task, it's a commitment. AI cannot take responsibility for an outcome because it also can't feel the weight of a client's trust. It's not sentient to know where to drive for optimal outcomes. So it's not sentient to know where to drive for optimal outcomes. So that kind of relates to what I was saying before, where sometimes we just have this intuitive pull where it's like, oh, I need to ask another follow-up question here. I'm not sure that this was, I need to dig a little bit deeper. I need to ask something else to pull out another piece of information from this client, from this team member, whoever it is, or whatever's going on. Your intuition is going to tell you when you need to pull more. Um, every output that leaves your hands carries your name. You own it. That's not transferable. So AI is not going to determine where that line is of where you didn't drive deep enough. AI is not necessarily going to know that. That's on you to determine. Okay. So you own everything that's you plus AI. And then disruptive innovation. So we challenge conventional norms with bold forward thinking solutions that drive a ripple effect of a better tomorrow. AI can generate options. It cannot be the driver to choose which one is worth betting on. It will give its own opinion on things, which sometimes is completely wrong. Don't ever forget that AI will gaslight you into the wrong answer all the time. You need to know when it's A or B. When is it gaslighting you, or when is, oh, that's a really good perspective and I need to adjust accordingly? Because it could be either one, and only you being fully present is going to know the difference. So use AI to expand what's possible. The direction to then go in is always yours to choose. Right? So how to stay sharp? One, trust the hit. When something feels off, say it. Any signal that you feel is data, whether it's coming from that compressed subconscious knowledge or if it's coming from a divine antenna. So whatever side it's coming from, sometimes it's not clear on which side it's coming from. It doesn't matter. I just kind of lump it all into your intuition. But anytime you feel that something's off, you need to drive deeper, you need to kind of pivot a little bit, you need to ask a follow-up question, trust it. Two, notice when you're checking out and ask yourself why. If you're catching yourself checking out often, there's something that you need to be paying attention to. All right, and then put your thinking in first. Make sure you're always putting in your own perspectives and use AI to challenge it. Don't just blindly throw things into AI. You need to be thinking things through all the way. You're the driver. You're the one holding the steering wheel. I'm not employing AI. If AI can do a better job than you, then we have a problem. But I need you to be steering AI. And that's why you guys are on this team. Number 4, outsourcing execution, not thinking. Same concept. Have AI be executing for you under your direction with you steering the wheel. 5, train your pattern recognition every day. Pattern recognition is a super powerful thing. So that's something that most of the people on this team, if not everyone, has a certain element of it above average. That's how you stay sharp, is to continue to sharpen and train that. It'll compound. Keep pushing it. 6, you own every output. Make it the best version of you plus AI. Okay. Sorry, there's one other thing I forgot I wanted to mention on number 5 with pattern recognition. The sharper you get on pattern recognition, the faster you make decisions. So that's something that as an executives get to be at that level because they've trained that pattern recognition so fast that they, in a certain moment, can know this is the right decision, this is the wrong decision, and they can think about it in 3 seconds versus somebody else might think about it for 3 weeks and go in the wrong direction. It all comes from sharper, faster, stronger, clear pattern recognition. It's very, very powerful. So that only works when you're sharp and alert. If you're zoning out, you're gonna be going in the opposite direction there. All right, I put together something that I want to put into an official SOG of the human check. So H is hold the wheel. Are you fully driving? You use your judgment. What do you think? M, made for human. Does it feel like it came from a person, somebody who cares, somebody who's sentient? Or does it have an artificial muck hanging over it? A, is it accurate to what I actually know? Remember, AI is going to gaslight you into oblivion sometimes. You need to make sure that it's actually accurate. AI is a compilation of what it's told and computer pattern recognition. It's missing certain elements, doesn't have all the knowledge, and it doesn't have the divine knowledge. You need to be responsible for knowing whether or not it's accurate. N, is this a necessary use of AI, or are you using AI out of habit and avoidance? That you're just kind of being passive and you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. I'm just going to have AI do the work for me. The more somebody goes into that N, that they're avoiding that, the more that they're going to be shutting off and shutting down. And we want to have that opposite. Okay. Lastly, you cannot automate your instincts. So AI gives you more capacity to be human. If used right, we can have more time and more energy and more space in our lives. Use it to be sharper. Use that sharpness to be more present. The most valuable person here isn't the one who uses AI the most. It's the one who uses it to expand oneself the best and then shows up fully human everywhere else. The goal is not only to be efficient, it's to be irreplaceable.